Okay, welcome back to another episode of What If History Restarted. This is episode 36. Last time, I think it was the Danish expansion. If not, then oops. And we also saw Indus fall, which is pretty major. So, just to get into things, we see that right now there are definitely some pretty large empires forming, notably, what are they called? These guys, the Finnish. There's also the Danish and the Byzantines. And these three empires are not very well liked by the rest of the world because they are very large and mean and scary. Also, this would definitely be a vital city. I just saw that and I feel like I should change it. It is one of the oldest cities in the world. But anyway, with these three big empires, they don't really care about being hated because they're big empires and no one can really do anything about it. So, we're going to see that the Finnish are going to continue expanding into Siberia, reaching all the way up here, and even capturing this. So, with that now done, they are going to turn their eyes towards more, like, developed land. First of all, they're going to go up here into this country, and this war is over in a matter of weeks, as this entire coast gets captured, and from there they just surrender this country. So in the peace treaty, they are allowed to keep their independence, but only barely, as all this goes over to Finland, although they still would probably actually leave some of this country all the way from coast to coast so that it can act as a buffer state between them and the Danish, because the Danish are scary. So with that, we now have this weird long thing existing, which looks like it should not exist. Anyway, their next target over here is Ukraine, who is in the Square Alliance, but as you can see, the alliances in Europe are kind of faltering. There's not really even that many countries in them anymore, just like the main ones. And with these guys all the way over here, these three other ones, the only three other ones in the Square team, are not really going to help them out at all. Which is pretty upsetting. But anyway, Finland goes in and they do a little pincher operation and capture all of that land. They then move out here and take this major city, and now they use the majority of their military to start pushing out towards this one, going along this chain like this, and then go in like this, and you can see what is happening here. The city is surrounded on both sides, and with this pretty great tactic and from the pretty popular Finnish leader, probably would be a historical figure, this war is over very fast, because, as you can see, Ukraine is actually pretty powerful. However, this Finnish leader just has really good military tactics, and this war is very, easy for how powerful Ukraine is. So with that, there we see another huge encirclement, which is eventually destroyed. That's Cypriot, yes. They still are in random places everywhere. With their last major city falling, they are kind of just done for. So, looking at this peace treaty, we're going to see something kind of like, let's do this, kind of like this. As the Finnish are going to be taking lots of this country, leaving their capital as their only major city, so become just that. We'll also have to move this down. Well, actually no, it is not their only major city. They still have that one in Crimea. But yeah, that is what they look like now, which is very upsetting. But over here, Finland and Denmark, even though they just set up a buffer state, they're going to make an uneasy agreement. What they're going to do is agree to pretty much partition up these two countries over here. So, we now see that both of their militaries will go in at pretty much the same time, very quickly, the capitals are captured, we then see them meet up like this, as Denmark now targets this country's major cities. This one completely collapses. I see that these two countries, which are pretty similar because in terms of culture and religion and all that, I mean, they aren't fully pink. Actually, this one has a little bit of not pink, of slightly darker pink. Whoa. But anyway, both of them are bone. Yeah. And now for this peace treaty, we're going to see a new border be established. So both these countries will be disappearing. Although a new border is established around here, with Finland now taking over all of that. And I think we will even make one of these a vital city. Like so. So with that, the whole buffer state thing was kind of useless, but they are very big now. You can see, with both those countries gone, Star Alliance is officially, Star Alliance is officially two countries. Granted, they are probably the two strong. They were like always the two strongest countries, but still, they've lost all their forces, which is not good for them, of course. So, with that, Finland and Denmark are living up pretty good, as they have now become the two strongest countries in the world, both overtaking Tuscany, which is now in third. Very upsetting for them. However, this is also very upsetting to literally everyone, because everyone is really scared now. Golden Horde is afraid that they'll be next. The Byzantines want their power to be good still. And of course, just the Europeans in general are all terrified of invasion. So, we're going to see one little last thing happen, which is that the Danish are going to go on a large voyage up here. They take over Iceland. They do go on a war there, but it is over, and it's pretty much as soon as they arrive. Oh, also, if you didn't notice, I slightly brightened the ocean, so that's great. From there, they go on a big voyage, and they actually managed to find Greenland. So, that is technically North America, discovered by the Europeans. Not really, because this is not mainland North America. And it's also very terrible here, and they want to go home. So, oops. But yeah, you now know of Greenland. So, that is all fine and dandy. Yeah. But we're going to be sticking with these two countries. I almost did not. And we're going to have to be going down to this little tri-point over here. Right there. So, the tensions between these three countries are very high. We have two of the strongest countries in the world, and a pretty powerful country. Just not like one of the strongest. And they are both really eyeing each other up. Well, all three of them are. Because both Finland and the Byzantines have kind of the same plan here, which is to take over Golden Horde, and then using those resources, make a very big push into the other one to destroy it. So Finland's goals, they want to get all of like the former blue team, and of course dismantle the Byzantines, make them into a bunch of small countries. The Byzantines' goal, they want to become gargantuan. They want to stretch all the way up here. They are very ambitious. So, and Golden Horde's goals are just to stay alive, as these two massive empires are eyeing them up. But that is going to be hard to do, as we see that the first move is made by Finnish troops immediately storming down and taking these two cities. And with that, the Byzantines react pretty quickly, moving in just as fast. We now see this mad scramble for the Golden Horde, as the entire north falls to the Finnish, although they are unable to capture the capital. The Byzantines take over the entire coast, and are also unable to take over the capital. We now see a very decisive battle happen over here at the capital, where Finnish and Byzantine troops both enter at the same time, and the city is taken. However, if we could do something like this, once both empires have entered the city, their troops start killing each other because they hate each other. And this is going to go a little too far, and now all of a sudden Finland is pushing into the Byzantine territory, and then the Byzantines, in response, start pushing into Finland itself. So, that is not good. Finland and the Byzantines are officially at war. And there are plenty of countries who do not like either one of these countries. So, getting right into things, Finland and the Byzantines are going to be fighting each other pretty much one-on-one for a while here. It's a very back-and-forth war, with the Byzantines going further into Finnish territory, then getting kicked out. Finns go into them a little bit, and then it just keeps repeating like this for about, oh, there's more Cypriot right there. Disgusting. But yeah, it keeps going like this for a couple months, maybe 2 or 3, until eventually we are left with a front line that looks a little something like this. And with that, we are now going to see the Danish are going to make their move. The Danish see the Finnish as their biggest threat right now, so they see this as a great opportunity to go in and capture them. So, well, they did not take that vital city immediately, but they do get very close to it, which is not good for the Finnish. And we now see that some other countries definitely have a bone to pick with the Finnish, such as the buffer state thing, which is extremely weak, but it'll do what it can, and it'll even capture its old capital, and that's good for it. But of course, the main force here is the Danish, who are probably the strongest country in the world, although the Finnish are a close second. Byzantines are probably 4th. Tuscany is still stronger, but barely. The Golden Horde's maybe 10th, maybe even lower, I don't know. But anyway, we're now going to see that these two star team countries over here are going to see this as a good opportunity to get back at Finland, especially the little Ukraine down here, who has been very tinyified. But we also see its friend over here do the same. And we now see that Denmark makes some naval landings over in mainland Finland and even Estonia. They now put this vital city under siege, which is the only other vital city of Finland other than its capital. So that is definitely not good for them. They now start even pushing further to the actual capital, although at a battle for it, they suffer a very large defeat, getting pushed all the way back here. However, with this major distraction, the Byzantines now are able to push out the Finnish and even start pushing into their territory, capturing this major city. They take out all their troops from Golden Horde, both countries do, and Golden Horde now starts their push in here, meeting up with this river and taking this city. The Volga River, I remember now. I think, maybe. Anyway, now see that this vital city finally falls, which is a major blow to Finland, although they are able to recapture all of this, and even push up like here. But this war is about to get even larger, because people also really hate Denmark, so that's not good. And so the Icelandic people who were just captured immediately start rebelling with their military gone, and this is seen as a pretty decent sign by all the other countries around Denmark that they could be in a good situation to capture it. So, its puppet state up here, I'm going to be calling it the Scandinavian Union, officially declares its independence, and now starts moving into Scandinavia. The buffer state just kind of goes along with this, because they don't know what's even happening. Over here, we see that Tuscany, the 3rd strongest country in the world here, is going to start its push up. And surprisingly, it is even aided by Austria, I guess. Now, this is just like when they fought against the Cypriots together. They're not allies, they're just working together against a common enemy. But the Austrians over here are very good at this war. They managed to. Their troops are very nationalistic. They actually managed to get all the way up here to this vital city, now cutting off Denmark into two, which is very frightening for them. Over here we see many native Russians start to rebel against Finland. They were just recently conquered by them, and they do not like their control. They would much rather be part of Golden Horde, so that is why they colored in with Golden Horde's military, because they want to join Golden Horde. It allows for Golden Horde to take all of this useless Siberian land, so that's great for them. Over here we see that Belgium is now going to enter in this war. I just realized that they don't have a capital. That's interesting. But yeah, Belgium is now entering this war, making its way all the way up here. However, Denmark, the strongest country in the world, is not that stupid. It has been fighting very hard over here in Finland, but is going to repel all of its troops. And now it is going to focus them right back over here. With that, we see a major loss for the anti-Danish as they get pushed all the way out. Well, Austria almost does, but the Belgians are. And Tuscany manages to stabilize the front line, but only about like right here, and they even lose a battle for this major city. The Danish are now going to start moving up into Belgium and start to threaten its capital, which is not good. However, there is still one little thing they have on their side, these guys, I mean, which is that Denmark was given their new government in a coup, and there are definitely some of their old government fans who want the old one back. So, we see that this group over here, they do not get that vital city, but this group over here wants the old Denmark back, so they start rebelling in all three of these areas, which are right around the capital. And now start pushing in, even capturing this major city. And Belgium now manages to resurge as these Tuscany pushes all the way up to the coast, and these guys make their way back and even take this vital city. You see the pink team over here starts pushing their way, followed by these guys, and very greatly, very, well, very climatically, I'll say, you see that Finland will now also push in and take this. Finland now goes ahead and rolls through these two countries up here, who have gone off, who have done pretty well in this war so far, but that is definitely coming to an end, as they are now going to be pushing into mainland Denmark. Well, not mainland, but like actual Denmark. Let's make this like that. Maybe, I don't know. But anyway, yeah. The Finnish now start a very big thing over here. This city, which is the second largest in Denmark, is not captured, but all of Norway is. Eventually, the rebel group that wants the old government managed to take back the capital, and now the coup government is just left in this vital city, which, through some very difficult military operations, is eventually sieged. And so the Danish are gone. Where the Finnish have just poured a ton of their military over here, and they are not feeling too good anymore. Those people, Estonian people, who they just conquered, are now going to be coming right back and rebelling. Except these guys are, even see that these guys move into this territory, and these guys kind of solidify this front line over here, and control of these territories is put into the hands of the Danish rebel group, who is going to just immediately start attacking Finland again. So that's great for them. With this, we see that the Byzantines now have a massive influx of troops, well, of morale, and they move all the way up here, Golden Horde sweeps through this major area using the old tactics of that Russian Empire. That was kind of like the Hunnic Empire slash the Mongols together. But yeah, they have their pretty good military tactics, and they managed to get all the way up over to this lake. Whatever that is. Northern area, which I think might be, yeah, it's kind of like a subdivision up here. These guys are pretty quick and to take as they face very little resistance. And now we see that this rebel group, which is also being funded by a lot of European countries, is now making its way to the capital, along with the help of Golden Horde. We see the Danish army able to take all of this, and then these guys over here, along with the Byzantines, make their way up. And with things very obviously not looking too, we'll make it this color, but with things very obviously not looking good for the Finnish, their empire is coming to a close. It's very old, but it is going to be no more, as the city is officially captured. And with that, the Finnish are also gone. Technically, the Byzantines and the Golden Horde were still at war, but they're going to decide to not do that anymore, because that is scary, and they just were very tired from defeating the two strongest countries in the world. We had the third strongest, the fourth strongest, then like maybe the fifth strongest, and then Austria, Golden Horde, these guys, the rebel group, these guys, probably you. Yeah, they were all fighting in a big coalition. And now we get to see this peace treaty. Okay, looking at this very drastic peace treaty, which has changed Europe completely, we can see that Europe has been changed completely. So, I have not done the cities yet, but that is okay. First of all, Danish are significantly smaller. They still are pretty big, like bigger than when they were before the coup, so that's something for them. But yeah, they look like this now. You can see that Tuscany, Belgium, and Mr. Old Tuscany, that is not Tuscany, that is, what are they called? Austria, maybe. I don't know, Bohemia, Czechia, whatever. But these guys are now very large again, and have regained their access to the Baltic Sea. Moving up here, we see that the Scandinavian Union has taken over a lot of land. They decided to stay united, even though they're like forced to do that. But they decided it was just for the best. And yeah, they're right there. Now see some new countries, such as these two Swedish ones. This one has that vital city, so they are pretty populous. Plus they have this other major city right here. And then we have this more northern one. We see that this one is doing pretty nice. They have a lot more northern land. And as I'm sure you've realized by now, Finland is completely gone. They were shown no mercy here. First of all, Iceland is also back. Should probably mention that. I mean, yeah, Finland is completely gone. So we see that the Estonians have united into this one big thing. Well, not these. So no, it wasn't really unification, but we see a new country is created, kind of out of the remnants of this old one. I'm not sure if I gave these guys any land. We'll give them a little bit more land, just in case. Maybe I did, but it's fine. This one's panhandle is finally going to look a little less weird. Oh no, that looks terrible. But yeah, these guys are pretty swell now. Up here we see that we have this country, which is pretty powerful, because we're pretty much going to be swapping this capital with the vital city. If we can do that on the right layer, that is. So we have the vital city becoming the capital, and the capital becoming the vital city. This is now an Estonian-controlled state rather than Finnish, and it is very powerful because it has the core Finnish territory. you see that this blue one got created just because no one really wanted this land, and also it's like sort of nationalistic. I mean, it's definitely predominantly the Finnish religion, but still. You see that Ukraine is much bigger than even how it was even before the war. So that's pretty nice for them. Oops. That is a little pocket. Oh, I did forget to give the Byzantines land, so just hold on for that. But yeah, you can see that Golden Horde has pretty much become Russia, as they have all of this nice Siberian. Well, this isn't really even Siberia yet, but they have all this nice land out here. Kind of like the crossroads between Europe and Asia. That's not really what crossroads mean, but whatever. But yeah, as for the Byzantines, they are going to be getting some land, of course. However, it is definitely a lot less than what they would have wanted. So, they are going to be getting this, and then all of this. So, like I said, this is obviously much less than what they wanted. However, to make up for that, they are giving a large sum of the profits and money from everything that has occurred. And with that, they are somewhat satisfied. But notably, it's kind of factionalizing the country. Some people are happy with it, some people are not. Some people feel like they deserve a lot more because they were a major contributor to the war, and people like Tuscany got all this. But other people think that the money was good enough, and those people are probably right because it is a lot of money for them. But anyway, yeah, that is that war. See that the alliances are kind of all messed up, but oh well. I'll update those in right about now. So, looking at these alliances, we can see that they have grown by a lot, and that is because these countries believe that all of this could have been prevented had there been more alliances. So, we now see that most countries have decided to join in on one of the alliances. There is still no alternative. There is just the star on the square. This is only like mainland Europe, so Scandinavia, Britain, just like the northern area in general are not included. And neither is any country that's like trans-European, transcontinental, with the exception of these guys, of course. Because they are very culturally tied to Europe rather than Africa. They're still kind of like a mix, but definitely more European. Anyway, this country takes over some land in the Sahara. So, great going. But anyway, we're going to end this video off with an extremely important event. Because over here, we have, as stated before, exploring in the Pacific has become very taboo among the Chinese. However, there is one single boat, which is a pretty large boat, and is stolen by a crew of explorers who just can't help themselves because they want to explore. Their passion, and the government does not allow it, so they all board the ship and sail off. So they sail off, and they almost get lost, but they do manage to find their way to Hawaii. From there, they replenish their resources, and they make one giant exploration outwards. And with that, you see them getting all the way up to where these guys once were. Well, they don't go that exact route, though. They take more southerly, like this, which eventually results in them landing right over here in Central America. We then see that they continue exploring out here. Probably think they found the ocean a few times. Well, obviously they have, but like, probably think that they found the end of the island. But this is not an island, and unlike the stupid Europeans in our world, they actually realize that immediately. They start to realize they have found some brand new land. They do not know how much there is. They probably aren't too excited. I mean, obviously they're excited, but like, probably aren't like thinking they just made completely history-changing discovery. They probably think it's just like this much land, but in reality, it's all that. But with that, they go back to Hawaii, they go back to the government, and they report their findings, and then they are all executed for stealing a ship. So that's great for them. However, the Koreans are still interested in this because they do believe that they were telling the truth. So they go back out here, and even though this is pretty unpopular, since it was made pretty taboo with their population, they colonize Hawaii, and now make their way out over here in Mexico. They then can explore like this, but notably, they meet up with this native group of Mexicans. Seeing them, they try to communicate, which is obviously pretty difficult, since they have no real way of speaking, but they can use some sort of, just showing things with their hands, try and get the message across, and very slowly they come to realize that this is not just Africa, but that this is a whole new area of the world. Then go further up north, where they find these guys. From here, they meet up with these guys and start talking to them, and they realize that, and they start learning about all of this. They then make their way south. Then they have the southern group, which goes back up here, and they realize that this is where the other Korean explorers were. So, with that, they now know this new area has to be at least this big. And obviously, they kind of ambition that it's probably even bigger, maybe even this big, but I do not know that it is still much larger. But still, this is very exciting news. And so, along the trade routes, we see that this information spreads very quickly, eventually reaching the government over here of Catalonia. Well, it reaches all the governments, but it reaches Catalonia most importantly, because Catalonia is the most interested in this. In Tuscany, Catalonia are both pretty interested in this, as well as Denmark, and so they all send out their divisions over here. We have this great race to find the new continent. The Danish get pretty unlucky, and they happen to end up going over here, and then they get shipwrecked, so not great for them. That just leaves it down to the Tuscans. I don't know if that's how you say it, but whatever. And the Catalonians. The Catalonians are this line down south, the Tuscans are more up north. They're racing to find the new continent. Once they get here, they start to get pretty hopeless. But once they get out to here, from here, maybe I should probably make it smaller. But yeah, once they get to around here, we now see this land in sight. And so the two ships have a massive naval battle, but in the end, in an upset victory, we actually have the Catalonian Navy winning over Tuscany's. Now, this is not even known by the government of Tuscany, obviously, because they cannot talk to them, because this is 1500. But anyway, the Catalonians are successful. They land over here in this country. And with that, the Americas have officially been discovered. And that is going to be the end of this episode. So, this was an extremely important episode. We had the collapse of Finland, who was one of the first countries, maybe not one of the first, but they're definitely a very old country. And of course, the Danish also got defeated, made much smaller, and were given their old government back. I will say they would probably have this, though. I think they would be allowed to keep that. So yeah, and then of course, even past that, we then had the alliances being big and important again. And most importantly, we had the discovery over here of the Americas from both sides. So we're going to have to see how this unfolds in the next 5 episodes or so. But for now, that is the end.